My son's a drug addicted fuck up, you win.
Hey guys, welcome back to the Lou Perez Podcast. I'm your host, Lou Perez, and today I think is a special kind of podcast because it all started, I guess, with some controversy on X, which in my heart is still Twitter. But I think it should be a fun one. My guest joining me today is Jesse Burkhart, and Jesse, so this is the first time you and I are, talking in person. So I'm going to give just sort of like a general, like how we, came together, and then, we can get into, specifics of, who you are and all that. So I guess I first came across you because there was a few weeks back, there was some, controversy on X. There was a picture of one of the cutest little kids I'd ever seen in my life. With curly hair and looking very young and innocent, and also pretty upset. And it turns out that the copy that went along with this picture was something to the effect of, I bought my kid ice cream. My kid dropped the ice cream, and I am not going to be giving my kid another cone of ice cream. Let this be a lesson. And that sort of, was a springboard into, I know you got a lot of responses to that. I was one of the people who jumped on and I responded. To be fair, my response was, a dig. I was like, it's the biological father should buy him an ice cream.
Yeah.
Which is a way of saying like, that ain't your kid, man. I'm like, but it was all in jest, but it was your child. It was your baby. And maybe we could just start there, and you're a dad, and we can start from there. So.
Okay, so I just want to just preface this by saying that that is just a horrible father. I would personally never do that to my kid. This is a 5-year-old kid who dropped an ice cream cone, and his father refused to buy him another ice cream cone just because he wanted to teach him a life lesson, but he left out the fact he's 5. But just moving beyond that, though, my response to that was, it was something along the lines of, it's going to sound very cruel that I'm going to say this, but I'm going to leave my kid nothing because of the fact that I want my kid to be a lot stronger. I was given nothing by my parents, so that's what made me strong. And because of that, that's the way I feel about my son. And I didn't expect my tweet to blow up like that, but it blew up and it pissed off a lot of people. And so that's how me and Lou got met. That's how me and Lou met. His response was actually one of the very few responses that's, was actually, I didn't really even consider it a dig. I just considered it just, well, I guess you could call it a dig. We got this, we wanted to start this bet to see that if my style of parenting and his style of parenting would work, or which one would work better. It's my style of parenting that's, I want my kid, if I want my kid to be successful, I want my kid to work for every single thing he has. I don't want to give my kid a single thing. I don't want to give my kid an inheritance. I don't want to, help him put a down payment down on a house. I want him to understand the value of money the way that I understand money. Growing up, I had absolutely nothing. My parents, they struggled and they toiled, and that really taught me more about money more than any kind of finance class could have ever taught me. And so Lou responded to that tweet, with something along the lines of, let's make a bet. And I said, deal. And so here we are.
Okay, so some things to make clear. So that baby was not your baby, right?
No. That was some other parent's kid. Yeah,
that was some other parent's kid. Okay, and then we found each other in the comment section, and and the whole like wager thing. What was fun was we sort of like we're going back and forth, and I actually thought like, this I think could be a really interesting conversation for people to try to, because so many parents are trying to figure out like, what is the best way to parent? What's the best way to go about creating good people, down the line. So if there's a way that you and I can come together and for all of humanity kind of define what it means to be a good adult, right? Or an adult that's ready for the world, that might be able to help people. And then we can figure out how we're going to do the wager and all that. So, from your own experience, like what's your background, like with your parents? You said, you came up, you didn't come up rich or anything like that. What
No, it's quite the opposite. Yeah. So, I grew up very poor in Michigan, Grand Rapids. My mother, she was an alcoholic, and my father, he was addicted to, hard drugs himself. So,
wow.
We didn't have any money in the house. There was always, it was always a struggle just growing up. Every single dollar that I made, unfortunately had to be taken away in order to actually support the house. And so that really taught me more than anything to put my money away more than anything else, because my dollar tomorrow, it's not guaranteed. And so that's essentially my background. I don't have too much to say about it. But yeah, that's essentially where I come from. It's just struggle.
Even with that, as far as, like, your parents, being addicts, respected drugs. Were you an only child? Did you have siblings?
Oh no, I have 3 siblings. I have one half brother, and I have one brother and one sister.
Mm-hmm. And are you the oldest?
Oh no, I'm the middle child.
Middle child?
Yeah.
Okay. So, like what, I think I'm fortunate that, I grew up in a 2-parent household. My parents, didn't have addictions or, there were, as we were growing up, there were some times where, maybe dad had a few too many drinks and ended up,
right.
Going to bed early or something like that.
I mean, that sounded like heaven to me right there.
Yeah. So like what is what's the day-to-day like with, parents who are, addicts? I mean, did they work? Were they able to, were they functioning alcoholics and drug addicts? Or?
Well, I mean, my mom, she certainly was a functioning alcoholic. I mean, she could hold a job for a while at least before, she got fired or she would just like quit. But, my father, though, he was always in and out of the house, up until about like 12 years old, and then, around 12 years old, that's when my mother went to a prison, and, to this day, I still don't know why, but, she went to a prison. And so my father, he was able to put down his drug use to raise us. But, before that, though, he was just in and out of the house. He would just, he'd leave for like a couple of weeks, and he would just like come back like a couple of weeks later. My mother and my father, they'd be fighting all the time. We would always have to, we were always moving from place to place. By the time I was like 11 years old, I'd probably been through about like 7 or 8 different places at this point, because my parents, they just either couldn't hold a job, they either got evicted, or there was some better opportunity, whatever that was. So, and the thing is that, that's not really all that much of a unique story. Unfortunately, right. That's a very common story for a lot of kids in the Midwest. It's kind of just like, it's a very forgotten area, or at least it used to be. I don't know how much you follow Michigan news, but where I grew up, though, just Michigan, it's really making a major, or at least Grand Rapids, at least it's kind of like in this major in the stage of like a major revitalization effort right now. So that's pretty good to see. But before that, though, it was a relatively bleak place, though. But that was essentially my day to day right there. All the way up until 12, and my father was fortunately able to fortunately get sober.
So your mom, is your mom still in prison, or?
No, so my mother, she got out of prison about 2 years after she went in. I mean, unfortunately, she passed away about like 3 years ago.
Oh, sorry.
I mean, that's life, though. We all have an expiration date. So, but yeah, it's just that hardship that it taught me the value of a dollar, and it taught me resilience more than anything else. Mm-hmm. There is a value that you can, there is a value that you can learn in hardship that just nothing else will teach you whatsoever. There's no amounts of finance classes that they can go to that can really teach you the value of the way that hardship can, I believe.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm pretty, it's, like as you said, it kind of your story isn't that unique from, that area of the country. And, as a parent, like when I think about that, it's sort of there's a soft side of me that sort of has developed since becoming a parent, where I just think about kids growing up in that environment. And while I think you're a perfect case of resilience and overcoming. I do also think of like how many things you were missing out on that you're able to give your kid now, that that isn't necessarily like being able to come in at if they have a nightmare and knowing that you're there, that you'll be able to comfort them. One could argue, okay, you're making them soft, but then also it's like, well, I mean, what an incredible thing to be able to do for your kid.
Definitely.
To be able to show that. So with, so you grew up, in this, in this environment, moving all around, parents, battling addiction. And it seems like, according to the timeline, I mean, your mother goes to prison and then your dad is able to get sober. I wonder if, maybe she was sort of like an enabler or an enabling force that they, kind of worked on off of together to be able to keep doing what they were doing.
But I mean, it was definitely a toxic relationship. I mean, as far as whether or not, as far as whether or not they were both enabling each other or one was enabling the other, just at the end of the day, I do believe that does take two to tango.
Mm-hmm.
Just all I know is that there are just like certain people that aren't meant to be together. And that those two are definitely in that category right there. Just like two people who are just not supposed to be together in any way, shape, or form. They're just, they were polar opposites.
Mm-hmm. And when you were talking about, you bringing like understanding like the value of $1, were there times where you like literally had to like hide money, from your, like, did you have like like a hidden, kind of buried treasure somewhere where you kept your money?
Yeah, something very similar to that. Yeah, no, because my mother, she needed the money for rents, because she, it's very expensive, raising 3 kids by herself, essentially.
Mm-hmm.
So, just like whatever I could give her, I tried to give her with whatever I earned. But, I did have to learn how to stash it away, though. That's kind of where I learned all my savings techniques at.
Mm-hmm. Well, I guess it's been long enough. You can kind of reveal where the what were the early locations of the stash. If you were giving advice, like, hey, kids out there, if your parents are fuck ups and you need to hide some money, this is where you gotta hide.
You hide in the room.
In the room,
you hide it in their dresser. That's like the last place to look. I swear to God. Like I kept it on the bottom left drawer, like the one drawer that she never used. The one that I know that she never used because it was all the same items in there for like 10 whole year, or for like the whole 5 years. And so I just kept it in there. It's like when she was out of the house, that's where I would stash it.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's amazing. Like, I'm looking around. I think I kind of have a problem where it's like a little bit of like a squirrel problem where, squirrels will like hide acorns, but then forget where they hid them.
Yeah.
And I have a little bit of a problem with that when it comes to like important documents and stuff.
Me and you were in the same boats.
Yeah, where I'm like,
I say that, I get myself something important. I say, hey, I'm going to put it right here so I don't forget where I put it, and then I fucking forget like 3 months later.
Yeah, I'm very much of. I used to have like a paper planner, like book planner, where I would cross stuff out as it's been completed, and then eventually rip the page out after the day is done and throw it out. So it's like that was a very concrete reminder of me everything that I was doing. And now, I mean, the phone has kind of messed me up. If you look at my calendar, there's all these recurring events that I'm never going to do. Like, I'm never going to do stuff. But so that was kind of like your, your early life. Did you do well in school? Like, how was your,
I mean, I did decent enough, I've always wanted better, but at the same time though, just, growing up in that type of household, just like I had my own ways of doing things. Just like I was a decent student. I wasn't certainly on the honor roll or anything, but I did about as well as I did as well as I wanted to. I had myself a nice little cushion. I was like a C to B student at best, like at very best.
Yeah. Yeah. There's a, I did really well in school. And, I talked about this on a previous podcast with my friend Randall Bach, who's a doctor, and so my dad is an immigrant. He's from Argentina. He never even graduated high school. He was like kicked out of high school in Argentina. And then my mom, she graduated high school, never went to college. She was a beautician, so she went to beauty school. So neither of my parents were college educated. And my dad, he basically told me and my brothers that our job was to do well in school. It was to do well in school, which luckily for me, like, okay, I did really well in school, so I was doing my job, but it was sort of like because of that, because there wasn't like an insistence of like, oh no, you're going to do well in school, but also right. I want to see you, have a part-time job, et cetera, et cetera.
Right.
It was sort of my world was very limited to something that came rather easily to me, So it was something where I think, I was, very privileged to kind of grow up in that household, but I think I may have been limited in the way that, you say like, overcoming hardship and
right.
the importance of having responsibility and having to answer to, like having to answer to a boss, a third party who's able to tell like, wait, hold on, I'm not your parents. You got to come here. You got to do, you got to do this and all that.
Yeah, well, just like, my thing is that, I don't regret the way I grew up. I would never, ever have it any other way because I learned so much growing up that way. But at the same time, though, I would never wish that kind of childhood on anybody else. So, I mean, as far as school went, though, just like, I could have done a lot better if I tried. I just had other priorities in mind, just like, I just like to smoke weed and party. Like that was kind of just like my big thing right there. So, but yeah. No, I mean, as far as I know, though, just like I got no, I have no regrets whatsoever about the way that I grew up because, I've been in the workforce for about like 10 years now. And I look at my coworkers, who did, this is not the case for every single, 2-parent kid, but, I'm looking at like a lot of my coworkers though. And I just see their decision-making process. A lot of them expect their hand to be held for them. If they have a problem, they go to an upper manager first, before actually trying to solve the problems themselves. Just growing up the way that I did, I just kind of have that, I have that innate question inside of me, just like, how can I solve this first before I have to take it up to somebody else? And that's kind of just like been my process before anything else, all throughout life. I remember in my, my early 20s, when I first moved here in New York City, I was really, just like I just got out of the Marine Corps. I had about like maybe $12,000, but just like a big in, I'm like 22 at the time. So, just getting New York City, at the time, it was back in like 2016. I was really, really low on cash because it's fucking New York. You go through cash like water, and so, there were a lot of times where I really wanted to ask my dad for money, but I never did though. Just because just like I feel like I also have like a shame around asking for things. I'm not sure exactly what what that is, but I've never asked my dad. I never asked my mom or dad for a single dollar since I got out of the household. I've always prided myself on my independence. But through my just like through my decision making process, where I ask myself, what can I do before I go to anybody else? I eventually am able to. I realize I am capable of figuring out everything before I have to go to anybody else. And that is, that's what I want for my son right there, more than anything else. I want my son to have that kind of thought process as well too. Before I go to anybody else, what can I do for myself? Have I exhausted every single option? And if he's exhausted every single option, I will be there to help him. But before I can help my son, though, he has to be able to help himself. And that is what I want to instill. That's what I want to instill in my son more than anything else, in the entire world, because, I'm not going to be around forever. Eventually my son, he is going to be on his own. He's going to have kids that, he's going to have his own kids, hopefully. And I want him to teach, his kids everything that, I taught him and everything that my life taught me as well, too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So going back just a little bit, you're talking about like your coworkers who, their first instinct that if there's an issue, they
Yeah.
want to talk to higher management, they want to talk
Yeah.
to HR or whatever. It seems like that is a really big problem. Like I'm 42. How old are you, Jesse?
I'm 31 right now.
31. Okay. So, there's a little bit of a gap, between us, but in the book, the Coddling of the American Mind, one of the things that they talk about is sort of the changes that have happened in like childhood, where it's kind of like helicopter parenting, safetyism, where like say like kids on the playground, rather than kind of handling disagreements and even fights with each other, their immediate response is to go to the parents to kind of come in and fix things for them. And how if you're creating a generation that is so used to the adults fixing their problems, it's going to be impossible for them to deal to handle the world. So I think that's a really that's a really important thing. And it's something that we I guess me and my wife, we struggle with too, like with our kids. Their problems between the two of them. My kids are very outdoor kids.
Right.
They have to be outside. Once they
that's a blessing right there.
Yeah. No, it's a blessing. Like, they love to play. They do a really good job of getting along too and playing with other kids. But you bring these guys back into the house and they're just beating the shit out of each other. They're screaming and all that. It's like it's like they switch it on. So we're struggling in some ways, and is having to deal with these two very different human beings, almost it's little fucking animals sometimes.
Yeah. Well, they're little terrorists. That's what they are.
Yeah, man. Yeah. Especially boys. And do you have one or do you have more?
Oh, just one for right now.
Oh,
yeah, just one's enough.
Boy, if you got a second boy, whoo.
Yeah, oh no, just all me and my brother did. We just beat the shit out of each other all day long, and then he learned martial arts, and then he just beat the shit out of me all day long.
That's the hack. That's the hack. Yeah, my boys are definitely going to be doing some wrestling and jujitsu and all that down the line. But I need to make sure that I'm just a little bit better than them, a little bit stronger than them. So I'm
Well, enjoy while you can. Just 42. You only got so much years of vitality left.
Dude, I'm definitely gonna be the guy who's on like HRT and TRT and whatever. I'm definitely.
Hook me up with your supplier.
Yeah. Whatever Robert F. Kennedy Jr. is pumping into his body.
That guy is a fucking monster. He's like in his 70s now, and he looks like he's like a 40-year-old. I think he just turned 70. He was like 69 or 70. I met him like what was it, last year or the year before? And he's like a tall dude. He's got to be like at least 6'3", 6'2", 6'3", jacked. The guy runs around like he's still 40. It's remarkable.
Yeah. That's why I'm kind of happy that he has a fucked up voice, because it's like, you can't have everything. You're a Kennedy, you're in great shape.
Well, I never mistook him for a natural though.
Right. Yeah. But it's so funny. It's a little off the topic of the day, but it's kind of like it's becoming the norm. It's like men in their 40s and 50s. It's like no, it's like they're gonna be pumping stuff. They're gonna be taking some kind of steroid or testosterone replacement. And it is funny how even today there's kind of a I don't know. There's something that's looked down upon about that. Like, oh, you're not natural. You're not working out.
As long as you're not competing, who cares?
Yeah. No. Exactly.
Yeah. There's like no competition. Personally, I wouldn't do it because I'm not. I'm not very interested enough to actually read into the side effects of that kind of stuff. So I personally don't have any desire. But if you want to do it yourself, though, knock yourself out. Just don't compete. That's all.
Yeah. And I've listened to some like conversations too, like guys who are, like low T or, taking testosterone.
Yeah.
It's like there are a number of things you should check out first before, going that route, because you might be missing, you might be lacking in sleep. your diet might be fucked. There might be all those, so you might be incredibly stressed out, and it's like you want to take care of that stuff before you're ultimately going on.
Well, I mean, is HRT the same as steroids, or are those two like separate things?
Well, it's wait, is it HRT? HG, I think. Oh, human growth hormone, I think, is the one. TRT, testosterone replacement therapy.
No, there's a HR. Yeah, there's a hormone replacement therapy as well too. I know a lot of MMA. I know a lot of MMA fighters. Vitor Belfort, so, he really did HRT, but I mean, I haven't looked into it enough to actually know the difference between HRT, HGH, which I think that's what they put in cows for their milk, I believe.
Yeah, I think with fighters like Vitor and all them, I think they were taking basically whatever was legal. Yeah. Or if it wasn't legal, whatever they couldn't test for. I think.
Right. I mean, they eventually still got though.
Yeah. Exactly. But so you were a Marine? Did you go in right out of high school?
Yeah, just right out of high school. I told myself, I was like, I remember telling myself when I was like 10 years old, as soon as I turned 18, I'm gonna get the fuck out of this place. Mm-hmm. Sorry, am I allowed to swear?
Oh yeah.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, no, so I turned 18. I got the Marine. I left my house. Well, actually, so I signed up for the Marine Corps at 18, and then I had to wait like an entire year to deploy because the entire war in Afghanistan that was beginning to wind down around that time, like around 2012. So they could actually wait to take me. So I waited until I was 19. I went to boot camp. I did my 4 years. I mean, honestly, it was a pretty unremarkable 4 years. It was just honestly, I don't even remember most of it because I was just binge drinking the entire time. Just like that didn't really the alcohol apple didn't fall too far from the tree.
Or the spiked apple.
Yeah, I mean, I'm 8 years sober now, but just like those 4 years were they were insane. Yeah, just like I am what you call a third award private first class. Just a third award private first class is somebody who got in trouble a lot. Just like my private first class got promoted to a lance corporal, they got demoted twice.
Oh shit! For
just drinking,
just drinking.
Yeah, just drinking and doing stupid shit. Just coming to my station just absolutely hammered. Or just like play. Yeah, no, and then you get NJP'd, and then as soon as you get NJP'd, they either put you on 45. I can't remember if it's 45 days of restriction where you can't do anything other than your assigned duties, and every single 2 hours you had to walk 15 minutes to a duty hut to go check in. To make sure you're still on base. And on top of that, you have to do just menial tasks around the base as well too. For me though, when I got NJP'd, my sergeant major, she knew how bad of an alcoholic I was, so she wanted to keep me restricted for as long as possible. So, it was just 60 days of restriction for me. So.
Where were you based? Were you in the U.S. or were you overseas?
Oh, just over in San Diego.
Oh, over in San Diego.
Yeah, no, it's beautiful over there, man. Just it's like a very clean version of Los Angeles.
Yeah, I had it. No, go ahead. Sorry.
Oh no, you can go right ahead.
Yeah, so no, it's funny. You're talking about this because I was on Gutfeld a couple months ago, and one of the guests was a veteran. I think he was a veteran of in Afghanistan, and he had lost his legs in war. So he was a double amputee. And I made the joke of I was like, I'm really happy that he told us how he lost his legs because I felt awkward asking him.
Wait, you talking about Johnny Jones?
Yeah, Johnny Jones. Yeah. Maybe it was my first. I wasn't familiar with him when I was working, but he was great on the episode. And he's whatever he lost in his legs, he obviously put in his arms because So funny story. I actually work next to I used to work next to the Fox building, and so I used to see them walking around all the time. Pete Hegseth, Johnny Jones, Liz Booth. Just I used to see them just walk around the neighborhood just all the time because the Fox building is over on I believe it's 48th and 6th. Yep. 48th.
So I used to just work right there, and you would just see them all the time, just walking the streets.
Yeah.
Sorry, but anyways, I mean, interrupt.
Yeah. So we so that day, that night, one of the topics we were talking about was vice president candidate Tim Walz, and charges of stolen valor.
Yeah.
And I said on the show, it's because of Tim Walz. Like, I don't thank veterans for their service until I know what they did. And I used to have a bit where in stand up where I would talk about what's like, hold on, like if you're a dude who, your whole, terms of your service was hanging out in San Diego, getting shit faced and fucking women, using your military status as a way to bang chicks. I'm like, it's gonna be tough for me to thank you.
No, seriously, if you find out I'm a Marine, like, do not thank me for my service. Just like it was just a 4-year binge. That's all it was. Like I just got paid to drink. That's it. No, but it's I mean, as far as like the stolen valor thing, I mean, in most cases, most veterans actually don't really care about. Well, so there's like two different things here. So there's like the Tim Walz stolen valor, where he lied about his military service in order to win high office. That pisses a lot of veterans off. Mm-hmm. But if you see like what won't piss off veterans though is that if you see like some dude just like in airports, he is he's like in like a Marine uniform. He's like in a Marine uniform. He has like 1,000 medals. Most veterans, they don't get pissed off about that. It's mostly civilians who get pissed off about that. Mm-hmm. People like me, I'll laugh at that because I personally find that very funny that you would actually take all that effort just so you could have like a free meal at Applebee's. Like, more power to you, dude.
No, I'm thinking about like a veteran who actually, went in specifically to the Marines so he can get a free meal at Applebee's. He's like, this is going to pay off. This is going to pay off big time. So you did your 4 years in the Marines, and while battling, were you battling a addiction, or did you accept it? Were you like, all right, I like drinking. This is who I am. I'm just gonna,
Well, no. So it was actually like that for about like maybe 2 years. So so my drinking was actually so bad in the Marine Corps that they actually sent me to rehab.
Oh,
wow. Just like even the Marines had to send me to rehab. That's just how bad I got. And this is like before I was even 21. So, I spent my 21st birthday in rehab. Yeah, I told myself, I don't have a problem, and if I do, I don't really care if I have a problem. Just like I want to, I'm only 21. I haven't lived my life yet. I haven't even walked into a bar legally yet. I'm at least going to walk into a bar legally and have myself a couple of drinks. And so I turned 21. I went to a bar, and I thought to myself, like, wow, this actually kind of like really sucks. Just going to a bar, just like you're paying for overpriced drinks, and I have to listen to a whole bunch of music that I don't like, and I have to talk to a bunch of people that I don't like either. Yeah, because you go to a bar and just like some random person tries to strike up a conversation with you, and and every time you're about to get laid at the bar, her friends are there to fucking stop you. And so just like, that turned me off. I went to a bar like maybe 3 whole times in my entire life, and that right there, that kind of just like that kind of just like that's like putting nitrous on my alcoholism right there, because that turned me into a reclusive alcoholic. Just like after I got rehab, I probably spent about like maybe I went to rehab my first year, and then I spent the last 3 years in my barracks room just drinking. That's all I ever did for the 3 years. And as soon as I got out of rehab, you're supposed to as a stipulation for getting out of rehab, you have to go to AA. I believe it was like 5 times a week. So I was going to AA, and I was the type of alcoholic who was actually drinking inside of the AA meetings. Like I was that kind of asshole. Just like, if you ever see me with pop in my hand, like an orange soda or something, that means I'm drinking. Just like I'm using it as a chaser. I don't drink soda unless if I'm actually like drinking alcohol. But anyway, so
what was your alcohol of choice?
Just pop-offs. I like it cheap.
Well, what's it called?
Pop-offs. Yeah, it's just like a cheap Russian vodka. Just like on base, you can get yourself like an entire handle for like $12.
Wow.
And so like that lasts me like maybe like about like a week, like if I behave myself. No, but so so that's kind of I mean, that goes back to my childhood though, just like I always wanted to save $1, and just like drinking's very expensive. And so that's how I save money with drinking, because you go to a bar, it's like you get yourself like $100, $70 like a bar tab right there, but you spend your entire day drinking. You spend your entire day drinking in your room, it's it's like $12 plus like the $1 for the soda you just bought. So That's pretty much what it was for the first 3 years. I didn't really accept it until I got out of the Marine Corps, though. A lot of my discipline in life, it actually like came when I got to New York City, because as soon as I got to the city, I realized, because the thing about the Marine Corps is that, you drink and you fuck up, there's a safety net. You're still going to have you're still gonna have your barracks room. You're still going to have a chow, because I have a chow hall. You're still going to have money you're still going to have your job. So there's really not much to worry about if you get into consequences. The worst that they can do is like put you on restriction, or if you really mess up, they can put you in the brig. I mean, that never happened to me. But as soon as I got to New York, though, and I remember telling myself, I'm in the real world. There's like actual consequences if I drink. If I drink, if I mess up, I'm going to lose I'm going to lose my job. I'm not going to be able to support myself, and I'm just going to start drinking more. So, I'm going to see if I can actually, make an effort to stop drinking. And so I tried to make an effort, and I was staying out of a hotel at this time when I first moved here. Yeah, I meet this really beautiful British woman. Her name is Selena. I'll never forget her. And we decided to go out. We have a conversation in the hotel. We just start talking. We decided to go out, and just I'm. I have like $12,000 at the time, because I just saved up all my money, from just like not going out. And so I decided I'm going to take her to the nicest rooftop bar, and I tell myself I'm going to have just one drink, and that's going to be it. I'm going to be the classiest dude I can possibly be. Like that one drink turned into about like 12, and it turned into a bag of cocaine in my pocket that I don't even remember buying the next morning.
Holy shit.
That's just the type of alcoholic I was. I'm just a blackout drinker. And it was when I had that one night, that's when I realized, okay, maybe I actually do have a problem. Maybe I actually should start taking this seriously. Maybe I should just admit it. And so that's when I really started to go to AA right there. That's when I actually, started to, apply the 12 steps in my life. I'm not sure how familiar you are with the 12 steps, but, it's pretty much it's essentially the antidote that's alcoholics have to apply to their lives if they really want to stop drinking. It's like radical self-accountability more than anything. There's just once, I haven't been in the program for about like 2 or 3 years now, but there's this one step where you have to make amends to every single person that you wronged. If you stole,
it's almost like that almost seems like the toughest thing. Right?
It is the toughest. Well, I mean, the toughest part is trying to track these people down, because like if you stole a toy when you were 5 years old from some other kid, you have to track that. You have to track that kid down. Like that's what I mean by radical accountability. It's an all or nothing program. You can't just pussyfoot around. You actually do have to do everything that the program prescribes, and that's what keeps you sober. And yeah, no, just like I got just like that's how I got sober right there. But it wasn't until that one night though that I met that British girl that I realized that it wasn't the 4 years of drinking that's made me realize that taught me I have a problem. It was just that one night where I told myself, I can totally do this and I can't do this. That's when I realized I actually do have a problem.
Did you see that British girl again after that night, or was that just the one night?
Oh no, yeah, no, just like I actually took her to the airport the very next day. Which if you have to if you have a flight the very next day, like don't go out drinking with me, because like she almost missed that flight.
Oh,
she was like super close to it, because she was pretty much like babysitting me the entire time, like trying to make sure I wasn't running into traffic or something like that.
Have you and after that, did you ever have communication with her? Or
I mean, I talked to her once on Facebook, but honestly, just like I'm really beginning to think that it was a bot that hacked her account, because I asked her to because she messaged me, and I asked her just like, hey, you want to hang out? And she never replied back. Yeah.
And something that I'm interested in. This is the first time that I didn't serve, so I don't know the culture of the military, the Marines, and so is that the way that you were treated, the way that your addiction was treated? Is that the norm, like in the Marines? Like, are they like, hey, we'll stick by someone in the Marine Corps even if they're going through this, and we'll basically try to make sure that you have that foundation there, like going to rehab, etc.
Well, I mean, it really depends. I mean, as much as I hate to say it, there actually is a lot of internal politics inside the Marine Corps. It all depends on how much they like you. Lucky for me, I was actually very well liked, in my command, until I wasn't, until I took it way too far, like one too many times. That's when they actually started giving me consequences. But, you know, um, I would say that if you actually do show that you do have a problem with drinking, that you actually can't put it down, they will actually make an effort to try to make sure they can actually get better. But if it's like a one-off thing, the top brass can, they can see that like immediately.
Mhm,
You don't have a problem, but you just do stupid shit. They'll just NJP you, and that will be the end of it.
mhm,
But for me though, just like I was very lucky that my command was actually looking out for me. Because there's a lot of because I went to rehab, and there was a lot of people who were in the same rehab. And the reason why that they were in that rehab, it wasn't because their command was looking out for them. It's because a lot of the times they would, in their addiction, they would do something horrible, and then their command would NJP them, and then as a way of just the command saving his ass, it would send them to rehab, and that was it.
mm, right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
just like, it was nothing more than just like a check in the box for a lot of these people, and I'm very lucky I didn't have that. But honestly, I'm really beginning to think that's for the longest time though, I'm really starting to think that would have actually been better for me because I'm not the type of person that gets better by coddling. I'm the type of person that gets better if you just like throw the book at me. Like
Mhm.
that has taught me my lesson more than anything else, I believe.
Yeah. So yeah, and um, like with that, so kind of going to like the stuff that that we were talking about. This idea of you know not helping your kid later on. Uh, that can mean a whole slew of things.
Right.
I know some parents, or I've heard of some parents where you know the kid turns 18 and they're out. They got to be out of the house. I personally, there's no way I'm gonna. I didn't grow up that way. I'm not gonna do that. To my to my own kids. But I know that there are people out there that's kind of where they're at. Where are you as far as like how you define kind of what helping your kid is like, and at different stages too. I mean, if your kid's 12, you're obviously going to be providing everything.
I mean, if my son's 5 years old and he drops a fucking ice cream cone, I'm gonna buy him another ice cream cone because he's five. But
There you
just like I mean, as far as like helping my kid, just like I want to, it's not that I don't want to help my kid. I just want to keep the hand holding to a minimum more than
Mhm.
anything else. Just if if my son is like 12 years old, he makes a mistake, he's got to own up to it. Just I'm not going to be there to bail him out. Just I'll put it this way. If my son is 16 years old, he gets caught doing something illegal, he goes to jail. I'm not going to bail him out. I'm going to let him sit in jail for a couple, for a night or two, just so I can like really just stew on what he did.
Mhm.
I believe that's accountability and responsibility. That right there is, that right there is the greatest teacher, more than anything else, right there. I would have never gotten to any point in my life that I'm at right now if my parents were just simply there just to hold my hand the entire time. If my parents just like, I mean, it would have been nice if my parents taught me about finance,
Mhm.
because I would have even more money than I have right now. Just like I'm pretty I'm pretty well off right now, but
Yeah. What field are you in? What do you work?
oh no, but yeah, I used to work hotels.
You used to work
Just
hotel.
like I'm telling you right now, just like for any college, for any kid who's in college right now, or any kid who does not have a degree, I'm telling you right now, like luxury hotels, you'll make a very good amount of money. Like you will make very good money. But just like just like as of right now though, I'm kind of just like floating around. I'm just like kind of like unsure of what I want to do. I left hotels about like 2 years ago. And so just like since then, it's just kind of just like whatever. I mean, I'm kind of just enjoying the time I have with my son right now.
Mhm.
Just I was very smart with my finances, since the age of 20. Every single dollar I get, it's not even a question of, do I want this $16 sushi roll, or do I want to put it away? The first answer is just to put it away immediately. Um, yeah. So I mean, as far as like what I want to do, as far as like the way I want to help my kid though, if my son's 18, he doesn't have to leave the apartment, but he does have to have a job, or he has to be going to college, or he has to be waiting to go into the military. It's just one out of those three things, or he has to be actively looking for a job. Just as soon as he's 18, he does have to learn that living comes at a cost. Just
Mhm.
like I have to pay rents, I have to pay my phone bills. Just one of the things I actually want to do with my kid though is that there are chores that I want him to do around the house where my kid, just like he does not get paid for those. Those are just like regular chores that he has to do just to upkeep the house. But if he wants though to, he can do just like other chores around the house that he doesn't have to though, where I will pay him more money. I actually like pay him money for that. I don't believe in giving my kid just a weekly allowance just for living because that's not the way that the world works. And so whatever my kid does extra around the house, I'll give him money for that. And I want to teach him how to put away and how to put it away and not only put it away, but just to also invest it as well too. I want to get my kids. I want to get my kids taught. I want to teach my kid about the market as early as possible. As soon as he is mature enough to actually wrap his head around the idea of a stock market, that is when I want to teach him about it. Because you're
How
essentially
old is he?
this.
How old is he now?
He's 3 years old, so we got time.
Yeah, you got some time.
Yeah, no, but just I want to teach them that there's a way to make money without actually having to actually make it. And
Yeah,
that's
passive
what the stock
income.
market does. I mean, you do have to be smart about it. You can't just like throw your money at like some penny stock.
Yeah. Are
But
you
just like oh, sorry, go ahead.
are you doing no, I think this is really helpful because like a few things that like my wife and I are investing in for for our kids or something simple like a 529 plans,
Right.
which I remember when we talked to like a financial planner about it, said the good thing about a 529 plan is that for those who the uninitiated, it
Right.
can be used towards education, so if you're looking way down the line, college, et cetera, and it can be used for anything having to do with college, whether it's purchasing textbooks, paying for a dormitory. And the thing
You
is,
got to pay taxes on that?
I don't, no, I don't believe so. Yeah. And, so one of the things that he was telling us, because I said, my oldest is 4, the youngest is going to be 3, in 20 years, I mean, who knows what higher education is going to look like?
Yeah.
We could get 20 years from now and, my kids might just want to be in the trades, in which case they wouldn't.
I mean, that'd be preferable.
Yeah. No. And we are definitely, of that mindset. So the planner said, well, the money could be used for trades training, or if you want to, take it out completely, you'll be hit with you'll be hit with a penalty, but
right.
but nothing, not like a terrible penalty, like not a 50% penalty,
right?
Something like that. So, it seemed like a good investment on our, and look, guys, if you're a fan of the show, not to take any advice from me on anything.
Yeah, don't listen to me either. I'm just doing what I think is best for myself.
Right.
I mean, the thing is that you can put your money in in all the stocks you want, but at the end of the day, unless your name is Warren Buffett or Bill Ackman, just there's like a 99% chance that you are not going to beat the markets, over a consistent 10-year period. It's not going to happen. Not even Warren Buffett beats the market every year. So I mean. Just like what I do is I just put my money away into a ETF that follows the NASDAQ. Well, I got some stocks too, just like Amazon, Microsoft, but just I put most of my money into an ETF that follows the NASDAQ 100.
What's it called? ETF?
Yeah, it's an ETF. It's an exchange traded fund. It's pretty much the same concept as a mutual fund, where you pretty much like pool together a bunch of securities, but essentially there's a lot less overhead. Because it's passively managed, whereas like a mutual fund, it's actively managed. There's like an actual manager who is, always just like taking stocks in, putting stocks back in, taking them out, and so that's the reason why there's a fee with mutual funds. But with with the ETF though, there's a lot less management, so there's a lot less fees involved.
Mm-hmm. And are you able to do it just like on your own? I guess.
Oh no, they trade just like stocks. Like they trade exactly like stocks. I actually bought 2 shares of what I was just telling you about QQQ right before we did this.
Look at that! Boom.
Yeah.
Well, hopefully it goes.
Well, I mean, that's the thing. Is like if you can't beat the market, you might as well just invest in the market. That's essentially what QQQ is right there. That is that's the top 100 stocks on the NASDAQ right there. And that usually does beat the NASDAQ itself consistently. Not every year, but most of the time, though.
Well, I'm taking notes. I'm definitely taking notes. Yeah, I
Yeah,
think
don't.
in my experience, I think one of the most important things is, as you you talked about earlier, when you would get a dollar, you'd immediately put it away.
Yeah,
It's like putting yourself in a situation where even if it's something as low as $1 or $5
yeah,
that you're just putting away, it's going to add up over time, and to a point where a lot of people just might not see it. Like, people who have student loan payments who spend years and years just paying the minimum, and it's
yeah,
like, no, you're going to get fucked when it comes to all the interest that you have to pay on it. Where even just putting, how much more can you pay? Can you pay an extra
yeah.
$50 a month? Do it, because you're going to pay. You're going to pay this down. And yeah, it's we live very. Some of us live in a very like the here and now, and aren't necessarily looking to the future. And when you connect that with credit, having a credit card,
Yeah.
it's like, oh, it just swiped it and it's mine. I don't need,
Yeah.
as opposed to being able to, look beyond that. But
Oh, you see what my coworkers, what my coworkers used to do, just like they would get like, because it was a union hotel that I was working at, and so we're making really good wages, and they piss away half their day's wages on takeouts like every single day.
yeah.
These people know absolutely nothing about money. And that's the thing though, is that these kids, when they grow up to be in their 60s, when they grow up, when they become a little bit older, they're going to be the ones bitching that there isn't enough money for them, because they pissed away all their money in their 20s and their 30s. Like your 20s and your 30s, like this is the time where you were supposed to work your ass off and put away every single dime so that you can enjoy your 40s and 50s and beyond that with leisure. I'd even argue in your 40s too, as well too. Just keep on working your ass off.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I'm especially like looking back at like the 20s, it's like I'm in comedy, for example, it's like, yeah, I mean, I was hustling as much as I can, doing whatever show I could do,
Yeah.
Getting up wherever I can, trying to work on anything. And that really goes a long way because, you have the energy, and you also don't have the baggage, you don't have the responsibilities of, a family. Now I guess I kind of fucked up in that I'm still a comedian and I got
Yeah.
responsibilities in the family, and I'm in a pretty volatile industry.
I mean, comedy is tough, man.
Yeah, it could be
comedy's very tough.
gig, man. But and at least now I think looking at my kids, and they're funny, they could be very funny.
Yeah.
If they were, if they really were serious about a career in comedy, I think I would be able to get them to understand having something to fall, not even just to fall back on, but being able to have a career while you work on your chops in comedy is really it's really important.
Well, I mean, just like I told my kid's mother, just like if my son wants to go to college, I'll pay for it. But if he wants to go into the arts or something like that, if he wants to go into like acting school, like he's going to pay for that himself.
Oh, like, dude, well, yeah, 100%. One of the one of the issues that I have, and look, and I was fortunate that I had an academic scholarship to NYU, and I got to study whatever I wanted. But I really do wish I had somebody guiding me and basically letting me know, like, hey, look, you can study something that has a lot more potential as a income for income when you get out of college.
Yeah,
and while at the same time working on your art form and studying your art form.
Right.
There's absolutely no reason why somebody pursuing an MBA can't keep a journal, can't write, can't read, read Dostoevsky. There's absolutely there's nothing keeping that person from doing that. So,
well, I mean, do you think that 19-year-old Lou Perez would have actually heeded that advice, though?
Oh yeah,
really?
Yeah, no, I don't know what would. Yeah, I try to get into that kid's head. I wish I could get back into his body. He was fucking jacked. 19-year-old Lou Perez was so. But this is crazy because we're almost done. Well, we're almost done with the hour.
Yeah, no, it doesn't feel like feels like it's only been like 20 minutes at this point.
Yeah, no, and I think even in our short conversation, I think I've learned quite a bit about you and your history, and also what you're looking to do for your kid. And what's so funny is I think your tweet came out differently than if you were having like a real conversation, like where,
the thing is, I mean, that's the thing. So, Lauren Chen, she actually responded to my tweets.
Oh yeah.
And I know, and I responded back to her, and I realized, wow, just like, I can actually see why this pissed off a lot of people. Because I wasn't, but then again, it's Twitter. You can only be so specific in that 140 character space.
Yeah.
So just like I definitely wasn't specific enough with what I wanted to do. Just like I can see why it pissed off a lot of people, but at the same time, though, I don't feel like a lot of the rage was justified. Because this whole concept of leaving behind generational wealth. This is it's actually a very recent concept. It's not a recent concept, but it's, the amount of money that is going to be left behind, from baby boomers to Generation Z or millennials. Just leaving behind such a vast amount of people, leaving behind such a vast amount of wealth. That's a new thing. It wasn't like that like 80 years ago. Just like if you were early 1900s.
I was going to say, it's sort of it's probably kind of a sign of the times we're living, where there's been so much economic growth and prosperity, where you don't have to be, say, for example, someone who has like a huge portfolio of real estate to leave behind a good chunk of money for your family. So it's sort of like, it's a problem of maybe like abundance, Well,
I mean, I think that this is kind of a question that really I think it's kind of like a question that nobody really knows how to answer, because of the fact that it's such a, because in the early 1900s, if your parent died, you were lucky to get anything at all, because your parents, because you're busy taking care of your parents. Your parents, they suffered, they toiled all the way till they were like 50 or 60, and then they just died, and that was it. It was a very menial existence for a lot of people. I don't think that anybody would have imagined in the early 1900s that their children will be leaving behind their children over hundreds of thousands of dollars. In the early 1900s, you would get a house that was worth like $20, and like that was about it. Just like you weren't getting such a vast amount of wealth right there. And so that's the reason why I thought that a lot of the rage towards that tweet was a little bit unjustified, because a lot of people, it comes across to me that a lot of people don't have perspective of the times. It's almost as if everybody thinks that this is the way that's always been, where every parent's leaving behind their kids such a vast amount of wealth. But but that's not the way it's always been. It's not, it hasn't even been 100 years where that's been the standard practice.
Yeah. And, and I think something too, like we were going to, kind of discuss, what does it mean to be a fully formed adult human being? I think one of the things that you hit upon is this, the idea of, accountability, responsibility, and individualism as well. Like, something that you said was, you don't have a problem, helping your son out if it's clear that he's exhausted, kind of all the options to work something out for himself. I think our conversation is going to be one, we can continue, and we could do it like over email too, because I don't want to get out of the wager, because I think it'll be something that'll be fun.
If my son is a drug addicted fuck up, you win.
and it's a wager I do not want to win.
That's the thing. Like that's the thing. Just like I was like very I was very reticent on taking this wager, because it's very morbid. We're betting on my son's future.
Yeah, and I wasn't even thinking like that. I was just thinking like, oh, I don't know, like your son's he needs a job or something. I don't know. I didn't know what I was thinking exactly, but I think I do want to continue the conversation. We can probably continue it offline, because we're limited on time. But I think I've heard it described before that having kids is like a scientific experiment that you don't get the results for at least 18 years. Yeah. So it's sort of like you don't even know what you got until at least 18. But Jesse, I want to thank you for joining me today. We're going to continue this. I'm going to write up a little something. Is there anything you want to plug? Any you're not a public figure, but just wondering if there's anything you got.
Yeah, no, just if you want to, yeah, no, if you just want to follow me, just follow me, just find me on Twitter, Jesse Burkhart 7. Other than that, though, yeah, I got nothing else. Been a very good conversation.
Cool, man. I appreciate it. Thank you, Jesse.
Yeah,
We'll
thanks for
talk.
having me, man. Thank you.